please, for all that is good in the world, click the like button and the subscribe button because this is going to be a bitch to edit. Hello everybody, how are you doing? I hope you're doing really well today. You look really nice. This video by far is the most time consuming and the most requested I've ever gotten in the history of all of my videos, and I have a lot. And it's the full story of how I broke my ankle and my entire journey from then until now. You guys have no idea how long this has taken me, how much I've put into it since the second I broke my ankle. It was always something on my brain whenever I was doing anything that has to do with my ankle. I always made sure I documented it. Anything big, I documented it because I wanted to make this video for you guys because I knew that if someone I was watching broke their ankle, I would want to know every single detail. I would want to have pictures of the progress just because I'm nosy like that. I know I'm not the only nosy person in the world, so this is what I've done for you guys. This video is going to have chapters upon chapters of this entire journey, okay? Everything is going to be in the Wonder Bar, each chapter with the time, okay? So if you want to see something about my recovery, you can just skip to that. If you want to see something about the actual break, you're going to skip to that, okay? But if you want to stay for this entire video, I would love to have you because it took me a hella long time, okay? So let's get right into it. Alright, so as most of you guys probably know, I was supposed to go to Europe on July 10th. I was supposed to go there for a wedding with Vince's family. Vince is my boyfriend. I was supposed to go there with his family for about 17 days or so. We were supposed to go to Amsterdam and then Tuscany and then Paris. As soon as I came back from school, I worked my ass off to try and pay off that ticket and earn any spending money and everything. I was so excited because I've never been anywhere other than Canada and a couple states in the US before. I was supposed to leave for that on July 10th. And when I say I worked my ass off, I really worked my ass off. I found a job at 2 different restaurants and was a waitress at both of them nearly every day of the week, double shifts many times a week, trying to earn this money, okay? I worked my butt off. And then came July 9th. I was at Vince's house, I had already packed my bags, everything was ready to go, and I just had to pick up a couple of travel shampoos at like Shoppers Drug Mart and everything like that. Other than that, I was completely packed, okay? So it's July 9th, and Vince is at work that day, and I was hanging out with his 2 older brothers named Mike and Mario. They're twins, so you guys have seen them both. You might think it's the same person, but they're actually twins. I was hanging out at their house, and I was just, you know, like in Vince's room on the computer or whatever, and Mike and Mario call from the bottom of the stairs, and it actually pains me to think about this. And for the record, Vince's parents were already in Europe. Okay, so it was just us. It was the 4 of us that was supposed to leave. And so they were like, Geneva, and I, you know, walked up to the top of the stairs and yelled down. I was like, what? They were like, you want to play soccer until Vince gets back? And I distinctly remember almost saying no, being like, no, because I don't like playing soccer at all. I like watching it, but I don't like playing it. I was gonna say no, and I remember hesitating, and I was just like, yeah, sure, because I wasn't doing anything, right? I was ready, all packed, and, you know, just waiting for the day to pass so we could leave. So we go to the soccer field down the street, and it was just like us 3 playing. It wasn't a soccer game or anything. It was just us kicking the ball around, and there were already 2 nets on the soccer field anyway, so it was me and Mario against Mike. Mike was running up the field trying to score on us, and I ended up taking the ball from him. All right, so I already had the ball from him. This is just, there's no excuses for this. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do a reenactment. And yes, I'm wearing pajamas. So I got the ball and I accidentally like kicked it a little bit too far over, and I went to run and go save it. You know when a soccer ball comes from here and then you circle it around to like kick it there, like you kind of like circle around it with your foot to kick it? So that's what I did. So I go to circle it and my foot accidentally landed on top of the ball, so it made me lose my balance. And it happened extremely quickly. So I was trying to circle the ball away like this. I lost my balance, the ball went away behind me, and I immediately just went like this. Landed flat on my heel, all of my weight right here, okay? And then my other leg ended up here for some reason. It was straight out like this. Because when I hit, I felt something crack. Like, you know when you crack your knuckles? I thought it was that, like I had cracked my ankle, because what I used to do a lot of the time, which I don't recommend doing, is I would crack my ankles by sitting on them like this and rolling back. So that's what it felt like, just harder. It didn't hurt, but something was wrong. I could feel it. And so Mike and Mario just thought, you know, I was clumsy, I fell, because apparently it didn't look like I had fallen that hard. They were like standing behind me, like, Geneva, are you okay? And I was just sitting here like this, and I was like, I don't know. And they were like, try and get up. And I was like, no. And what happened next was probably the scariest part. And it was that all of a sudden, the only way I can explain it is it just felt like something was coming over me. It was spreading through my body, and it felt like as if you had black smoke running through your veins and your blood. And I don't even, I know that sounds so like weird, but that's the only way it felt to me. And then so I shifted over here. I had actually this running shoe on. Mario bent down to look at it because he's actually in med school, and so he just thought he'd take a look at it. He didn't, you know, move it that much, but he bent down and kind of just like tapped a little bit around my ankle and, you know, said, did that hurt? Did that hurt? And I was like, yes. And he went to move it a tiny bit, like actually like shift it, and I saw something in my ankle move. And that's when searing pain, like shooting pain, came up my leg. And so I was like, ow, yeah, that hurt. And he was like, oh, you know, like it might just be dislocated. I think I might have put it into place, because when he did something, it moved to look normal again, if that's possible. And so that gave me a little bit of hope, because I was like, okay, you know, like maybe it is just dislocated, whatever. And then so he was like, okay, you know, try to move your foot, like try to get up. And this image will be forever ingrained in my memory. I lifted up my foot like this to the side, and I was watching my ankle very intently. When I went to lift it, my heel dropped. It wasn't connected. And I literally only needed to pull it up like a centimeter to see my heel stay there. And I was like, no, it's broken. It's broken. I was like, you guys need to call 911. And they were like, are you sure it's broken? And I was like, yes. I was like, guys, this is broken. I promise you. And I still had my shoe on. I have no idea why this went through my head. You guys, don't judge me whatsoever. But I just got these Nike shoes last summer. And so they were not even a year old when I broke it. Okay. But for some reason, the most important thing to me was not necessarily my ankle, and I think it was also me trying to distract myself. But after he hung up the phone, I was like, okay, you need to take off my shoe, because they're gonna cut it off. I was like, my running shoes are gonna be ruined, and I just got these running shoes. I was like, no matter how much pain I'm in, you need to take this off my foot right now, because they're gonna cut it off. They're not gonna gently remove it. I was like, you need to do it before they get here. So either Mike or Mario bent down, I don't know which one, and untied it and carefully like pulled this top part apart, and you know, pulled it away. And then after he took my shoe off, Vince was still at work, obviously, and so I was like, hey, I need to call Vince and tell him what the heck happened. So I used Mike's cell phone. I called Vince on his cell phone first, and he didn't pick up. And I was like, oh my gosh, you better freaking pick up right now, because, you know, I'm about to go to the hospital. And so I called his work, and his boss picked up, and I was like, hi, is Vince there, please? And he was like all grumpy, and he's like, yeah. And Vince sounded very, you know, flustered. Clearly they were busy. And he was like, hello? And I was like, hi, I broke my ankle. And he was like, what do you mean you broke your ankle? And I was like, my ankle is broken. I was like, I'm going to the hospital, like paramedics are on their way. I'm going to this hospital. Can you please meet me there when you're done work? And he was like, okay. Like he didn't even know how to process that, because he's in the middle, you know, like a busy shift. And we hung up the phone, and that's when we heard the sirens and saw the ambulance back up into the parking lot. And two female, actually both of them were female, paramedics came and ran this stretcher over to me, and they were like, you know, what happened? Where do you feel the pain? Like, what are you feeling right now? And I told them exactly what happened, and I told them about like what my body was doing right now, and how I was breathing really heavily and felt really dizzy. At that point, I was feeling like I was about to pass out, feeling really, really dizzy. And I said how I couldn't feel my arms or my legs, and I was shaking and everything. And they're like, okay, you're going into shock. You need to calm yourself down. Like, calm down your breathing, take deep breaths. And then they wrapped this black band around my arm, I guess, to monitor my blood pressure. And so they were like, okay, yours is at this number. It has to be below this number. Just calm yourself down. And so that's what I focused myself on. And at that point, I just kind of lied down, because I was like, I don't even know what to do. And then they put my ankle into a yellow splint and started wrapping it. Meanwhile, I'm like yelping in pain, and I told them, I'm supposed to go to Europe tomorrow. Like, what do I do? You know, like, can I still go? And they were like, we don't know if it's broken, so you might still be able to go. I'm not sure if they really believe that, but that's what they told me. And so the two women who were shorter than me, and I believe probably thinner than me, went to go and lift me up. And I was like, guys, I'm so heavy. I was like, you probably won't be able to lift me. I weigh a lot. And they're like, don't worry, we'll be able to lift you. We can lift 300 pounds between the two of us without extra equipment. And I was like, okay. And so it was easy peasy. They both lifted me onto the gurney. Mario said he would come with me in the ambulance so that I wouldn't be alone. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, the paramedics cut my sock off, so I knew they would have had to cut my shoe off, so I was glad I saved my running shoe. The ambulance ride, let me tell you, was absolutely agonizing because they had moved around my ankle so much that I could feel where it was broken. I personally knew that it was broken, and I could feel what they had to do and what they did when they were lifting my ankle. And so I could feel that it was broken like this, okay? So from the back to the front. So what happened was when they picked it up, they picked up above where it was broken. So they actually separated these two. So imagine like this is the rest of my ankle and they picked up above it. So when they picked this up, I felt my heel drop, and it was the most agonizing thing I've ever felt in my entire life. Imagine your body always being there for you, like always, you know, being able to control something, and have something that you're completely not able to control happening with your bones, and you can't do anything about it. Like something that's supposed to be together, that's split in two. And so I vlogged and I texted my mom, my sister, and my dad about what was happening, because obviously they had already said goodbye to me because I was supposed to be leaving for Europe. Hi guys, so I know I'm breathing really heavy and okay. And I think I broke my ankle. This is Mario. He came along in the ambulance. This is an adventure before my real adventure to Amsterdam, and hopefully I'll still be able to go. Oh my gosh, that would be so heartbreaking. And a long 45 minutes later, we were at the hospital. We pulled up to the back of the hospital where they received, you know, everybody coming from an ambulance, and they wheeled me into a separate part of the waiting room. It's like behind the front desk, and it was for emergency cases. There were other people in wheelchairs and other people on stretchers back there with me, and then through this like window pane where the front desk was, I could see the people in the waiting room. And what really pissed me off is that the blonde paramedic, for some reason, took an interest in Mario, who I told you was in med school, and was talking to him while I'm sitting on the stretcher, and she was like fiddling with my stretcher, and every single thing that she did, I don't even know, she was like tapping, no, she was, I don't even know, she was like tapping something or whatever, but she was tapping this metal post that was like on my, you know, attached to my stretcher, to my gurney, and it was moving my ankle to the side when she was doing it. And I was, oh my gosh, like I was so angry. And she was talking to him, like, you know, just laughing or whatever, fidgeting and stuff. And I was like, can you please stop doing that? I actually said that to her, and she was like, okay, you know, sorry. And I was so pissed at this blonde lady who like didn't even care. I mean, she cared until then. And the most painful thing by far of this entire experience was when they were moving me from the gurney to a wheelchair, and it was the blonde paramedic that was moving me. And so I got into the wheelchair, and there's this thing that you can fold down in the wheelchair that they had to fold down for me, but my legs were off of it for that point, okay? And obviously I was in a lot of pain. And so the blonde paramedic was talking to Mario while she's, you know, like pulling it down and doing that and everything. And she just goes to willy-nilly grab my leg and put it onto the thing. And when she started doing that, she's talking to him, and I was like, ow, ow, ow. And you know, she's like, it's okay. And she started pulling it up without supporting my heel. And I screamed. I was like, ow, stop, stop, stop. And, but like loud, like really, really loud. And everybody in the waiting room and everybody in front of me just looked at me because I was so loud. I was like, ow, stop. I was like, stop. You need to lift it by my heel. I was like, that is what's keeping my foot together, lifted by my heel. Because, oh my gosh, guys, I can't even explain to you how angry I was at this woman. I was like, you need to fucking stop talking to Mario and pay attention to the person you've just like caused severe pain to. That was by far the most painful thing I had gone through the entire time, even up till now, the most painful by far. After that, Vince arrived because he had left work early, and the doctor came up and was just kind of like, you know, poking around and everything, and that was really painful too. And he was like, you know, where does it hurt, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, ow, 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 that hurts. He touches it like literally like 2 or 3 times, and he goes, yeah, it's broken. Okay, so we need to get you in for an x-ray to see how bad it is. We're gonna have to do a reduction surgery for you like immediately right now. And I just started talking over him, and I was like, I'm supposed to go to Europe tomorrow. Like, I'm still going, right? I can still go, right? I don't know if he just didn't want to break my heart then, but he was like, I don't know, we have to get you in for an x-ray, okay? And he really didn't answer me. And so they wheeled me in for an x-ray, and the man who was supposed to help me onto the like x-ray thing, I don't even know what it's called, went to go lift my leg, and I was just like, stop. Before you even think you know what you're doing, please, I'm telling you, lift it by my heel. I was like, don't touch the rest of it. You have to trust me, because I was like, I can feel exactly where it's broken, so just lift it by my heel. I told that to every single person after that. I was like, before you think you know what you're doing, lift it by my heel, I'm telling you. And so he did. He was really good about it, and he got me to angle my leg, which was awful. He took 4 x-rays, I believe. And then afterwards, while we were waiting for the doctors to check out the x-rays, I was waiting in this room, and then a nurse came up and she was like, so we got, you know, the results of your x-rays back, and you broke it in 3 places. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what? I broke it in 3, I not only broke it, but in 3 places. And she was like, yeah, it was a clean break in all 3 places. And I was still very much counting on going to Europe the next day. And I told her, I told everybody there, I was like, I'm supposed to be going to Europe tomorrow. Like, I'm still going, I'm going. Like, that's what I told myself. Because I've never broken anything before. I didn't know, I don't know. I guess I was extremely naive about it, I know that. But I guess I was just in denial and both just hanging on to that idea, and no one was telling me no. All the nurses were telling me to my face, like, yeah, maybe you could still go. I don't know why they did that, because it just made it even worse when the doctor came in and said, there's no way you're going on that trip tomorrow. You need to have a reduction surgery right now. They're going to put an IV into your arm, and we have to schedule a surgery for you later this week, and you're going to have to come back for several follow-ups over the next several weeks. Vince and Mario were there when he was saying that to me too, and I was just like, what if I had the surgery and then left? You know, what if I just rescheduled my plane ticket? And he goes, no. Like, at that point, he was just not sugarcoating it anymore. He was like, no, there's 0 chance, 0, goose egg. He actually did that to me. He was like, 0, goose egg. You're not going. This trip is canceled for you. And that was just throwing, you know, salt on the wound. The way he said that, I was like, you could have said that nicer. But I guess he was just trying to get it into my brain, because I was so adamant on still going. And as soon as he said that to me, I just started crying. And it was while the nurse was putting the IV into my arm. She was like putting a ginormous needle in and then taping it so that when they went to do the reduction surgery, they were gonna like just attach it. And I looked at Mario and Vince, and they just stared back at me in silence, and just with heartbroken looks on their faces. And I just had silent tears streaming down my face. I was just so devastated. And I know it sounds stupid to be devastated about something like that, but please understand how excited I was to finally travel somewhere. But yeah, right after that, they made Vince and Mario leave because they were going to do the reduction surgery. And so they put this gas mask, you know, medicine thing over my face to give me laughing gas. And then they screwed in the IV pump to my needle, and they were like, okay, you're gonna start to feel really drowsy. Meanwhile, I had just gotten this news, right? And they told me, you're gonna start to feel really sleepy, okay? You can just go to sleep. You might fall asleep, you might not, but it's gonna make you really, really drowsy, okay? And I was like, okay, you know, I was just really, really upset. And I was talking to the anesthesiologist or anesthetist or however you say it. They called it something different like each time. But I was just crying and just talking to her like, you know, I can't believe I can't go. And all she was saying to me the entire time was just, it's okay, you know, Europe will still be there. And I was like, but, you know, like I'm just, you know, sobbing to her, and she's like, I know, it's okay. And then next thing I knew it, because I was talking to her the whole time, didn't even fall asleep, didn't feel drowsy whatsoever, because I was so hysterical talking to this woman, was that the doctor said, you know, all done. And I was like, what? And I see that my leg was completely casted, not in a hard cast, but in like a soft cast. They had wrapped it around the yellow splint, and all the doctors and the anesthesiologist left, and I was just lying there by myself waiting for Vince and Mario to come back. Vince was on the phone with his family telling them exactly what had just happened, that I'm not allowed to go. And then Mario came back in, and he just silently sat down and was just looking at me, and I was, you know, just looking up at the ceiling with the gas mask still on, and I had fogged up the entire mask, and I was just silently like sobbing. After that, Vince came back into the room and just immediately said, I'm canceling my ticket. And I was like, no, you're not. You're not canceling your ticket, not because of me, because I was like, my mom's already offered to take me home. You don't need to stay home. You can't miss this. You know, this is a wedding. You can't miss it. And he said, I know you need 24/7 care, and I can give that to you. And he was right. I mean, he had booked off work. I had just quit my job because we were actually going to be moving the next week. So my mom was going to be dealing with a move. My stepdad has prostate cancer, and he was going through radiation. And to add on to that, I was going to need literally 24/7 care for the next like 2 months. Even though my mom would have tried her best, I would have, like, she would have spread herself way too thin. She wouldn't have been able to give any of those three major things that need immediate concern, 100% of her energy, you know? And even though I knew that was true, that Vince was going to be able to give me 24/7 care, I still argued with him for quite a while after that, saying, no, you're going, like, I'll be fine. Even though I said all that, he was like, no, I'm canceling my ticket. That's just it. I've already canceled it. That's what he told me. He's like, I've already told my parents I'm not going. And I just felt so bad, and I was crying some more. It was just a very emotional day, obviously. And I said thank you so many times, and I felt so bad, and just told him for weeks after that, like, I would just wake up and cry and be like, I feel so bad. I've ruined the rest of your summer. My summer's ruined too. I was like, this is just the worst thing. This is all my fault, just from a stupid accident. You know, like a stupid millisecond had changed the course of the next several months, and Vince had volunteered to not go to Europe for me. It's just not fair. Nothing about this is fair, you know? And I feel so bad that Vince would do that for me. I mean, it's so great, but like, I felt so guilty. I still do. And my mom, Delaney, and Delaney's boyfriend, Ryan, all came to visit me that night at Vince's house. And my mom still thought that she was gonna be taking me home. She was like, when are you coming home? Do you wanna come home right now? And I was like, I told her everything. Anyway, they came over, they bought me a whole bunch of candy, and they took a couple of pictures with me and left later that night. However, a really cool and cute thing about staying in Vince's parents' room, which was at the top of the house with an ensuite bathroom, which is why we were in there. One of their cats had just had 5 kittens, and so all of the kittens were just, you know, running around. I took so many pictures of them. You guys probably saw on my Instagram, was just filled with kittens as well. And so the next day, Vince and I went back to the hospital because that's when we thought the surgery was. We get there and they tell me that that wasn't the day of my surgery. I still need to book the day of my surgery, and that it was just a follow-up. I don't even remember what we talked about, but it was useless. I was literally talking to the man for probably 4 minutes, this like doctor who I never saw again. I had gone through getting in the car and like sliding over and keeping my foot up and everything in awfulness, gone all the way to the hospital just to do that. And it just pissed me off too, because it was already really taking its toll on me to have everything still be loose in my cast. Because when I lifted it, the best way I can describe it is that it felt like monkeys. You know those plastic monkeys where you pull them up out of a barrel and they're like hooked on to one another kind of thing? That's kind of what it felt like with my bones. I would lift up my leg, and even though it was just like a millimeter of movement, I could feel my bones just go like click, click, click kind of thing, and then the whole thing would move. Like I could feel it. I don't know, it was really bad. So every single time I moved, it was just awful. So the fact that we went all the way to the hospital and they were like, your surgery, you know, isn't for a couple of days, you still need to book the time, was just like, it pissed me off so much. So I booked it for the 12th, okay? And that was the 10th. So Mike and Mario left for Europe, and I had to stay there, and I decided to have my first shower. Let me tell you, the showers were one of the worst parts of the entire experience. They were so depressing, and the most painful one, the most physically painful one, was the time the one shower I had in between breaking it and having the surgery, because it was loose. And so what you do when you have a shower, when you have a cast on, is you have to have at least a garbage bag over top, like above your knee, and you have to duct tape it, okay? And Vince would have to help me, you know, crutch it into the bathroom. These were the crutches they gave me. I forgot to mention that. These were my life. And so Vince would have to help me crutch it into the shower, and we had put a chair inside the shower, so he would just like help me sit down, and I would close the shower door, and I had to like obviously do everything myself, but I couldn't let my heel hit the ground, so I had to keep my leg up. Like I had to just keep it up because I was too afraid to let it hit the ground because it hurt so much. And meanwhile, there's like this big garbage bag on it, and the garbage bag was like hindering my ability to move my leg, and so it was just really, really uncomfortable. What I would have to do was I'd have to stand up on one leg, balance on one leg, wash my hair, and sit down like underneath the shower because the shower head I couldn't pull down. So it was just awful. It was so depressing, and it was the only shower I had in between those 2 times because I was like, hey, that was just way too painful, way too depressing. I'm gonna wait till after the surgery to have my next shower. The next couple of days were really, really hard. They had given me codeine to cope with the pain before the surgery. My dad came to visit me too, so that was good. But other than that, it was really, really depressing. I would wake up and just start crying. Not necessarily about not going to Europe, but that I had ruined Vince's ability to go to Europe. Vince would wake up beside me and I would have to go, you know, to the bathroom, and but I didn't want to tell him. Like, I wanted to wait till he woke up, and so he would wake up and I would be like, could you take me to the bathroom, kind of thing. And it was just a lot to get used to. And he would reassure me all the time that it was his choice to stay, and, you know, that I shouldn't feel bad and everything, and that the point was for him to spend time with me, that he didn't want to go to Europe without me. Oh my gosh. I'm extremely lucky to have him. I know that. You guys don't need to tell me that. I know I am. But regardless, I felt really, really, really bad. So it was extremely depressing. Then came time for the surgery. My surgery was at 8 in the morning, and it was supposed to take 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and we were supposed to get there, I think, around no later than 7. So I think we left at 6:10, got there at like 6:45 or something like that, and waited. So the hospital was a little bit behind on their surgery, so I didn't really get in there till about 8:25 or so. So Vince waited in the waiting room, expecting me to be out probably around 9:15 or so. All I remember was wondering if I was going to feel like sleepy or if I was just gonna get conked out. And so what I remember is them actually wheeling me into the room. I was awake for that part, and they lifted me from the gurney or whatever onto the operating table. I remember that too. Almost all of the surgeons in that room were women, and the main orthopedic surgeon was a woman too. She had come and spoken to me beforehand, and apparently she's like an amazing surgeon to have. So I wasn't worried about that. But they put me onto the operating table, and I remember talking to them for a little bit, and they were like, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be fine. And that's all I remember. I guess I just like conked out right after that. And I just remember waking up in some sort of room with a curtain, and this woman came up and she's like, oh, you're awake? And I was like, yeah. I was like, my ankle really, really hurts. And she's like, okay, I can give you another dose of morphine. And I was like, okay. And I was falling in and out of sleep, like freaking mad. And I was just, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest feeling ever. And every time I would wake up, I was like, can you give me more morphine? And she was like, yeah. And then I woke up one more time and she was like, do you need another dose of morphine? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, that's the last dose I can give you, because apparently you're only allowed up to 5. And so I had the maximum amount. What I didn't know was that morphine makes you extremely nauseous. Apparently that part hadn't kicked in yet. And so I had 5, I guess, injections or doses of morphine. And Vince came in and he just had the most worried look on his face ever. And he was like, you know, how are you feeling, blah, blah. And I was like, what's wrong? You know, why do you look so worried? And he was like, I thought something went wrong. And I was like, why? What time is it? And he goes, it's 12:40 p.m. And I was like, what? Because it was supposed to only take 50 minutes and I was in there for over 3 hours. And he was like, I mean, I know it's kind of irrational, I guess, to think this, but I guess if it took so much longer than normal, Vince was worried that that something went wrong and they had to amputate my ankle or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, please don't even say that. Hi.
Wave. Geneva just got out of surgery. How are you feeling?
I could be better.
Yeah? No marathons today?
No marathons.
No marathons today?
I'll wait till tomorrow.
We ended up being there for about 1.5 to 2 hours after that. Like, it took me that long to just get out of the bed because I felt so nauseous, and it felt like just a third party was just knocking me out. And it was, It was just so unnatural feeling, but we finally got home and it was just a waiting game after that. Lots of kittens, lots of movies and TV shows, and lots of people visiting. I also appreciate all of the well wishes I got from all of you, especially Orla, Vanilla Song 1. I really appreciate your concern and everybody else's concerns about how I was doing. So after that was just weeks and weeks of awfulness and frustration because I just felt so useless and just so immobile. I can't imagine people becoming paralyzed or anything like that because, I mean, having to feel like that for the rest of their life, it takes a really strong person to get past that, and I never quite did. It still kind of pains me to think about it, how I was feeling. It was a very depressing time. I didn't even feel like making videos for you guys for that long. I was just kind of wallowing in my own grief. The most depressing day by far was a couple of weeks in, and it was, I think, about a week before I was supposed to get my reel cast on, and so that was near the end of July. And Vince's family had recently returned from Europe, so Vince and I were no longer sleeping in their bedroom. We were sleeping on the main floor, and on the main floor has a different bathroom, okay? The most depressing day was the first day I had to shower in that bathroom, because the thing is, the one on the main floor is a very, very small cube, okay? You could barely fit a chair in there. The one in his parents' ensuite bathroom is much bigger, and I had a lot more room. But Vince had been gone the entire day. He decided to go golfing with his younger brother because he didn't get out much, so I was just like, you know, anytime you want to go, just go. And so he had been golfing the entire day, and he came back, and the whole day I had been watching just YouTube videos about, I think, mediums. Lisa Williams, I think her name is. I just watched videos from her like the whole day. I didn't even leave the room, and it was one of those days where you know you should leave the room, but you just don't. You just like stay there the whole time. And so Vince had gotten back, and it was probably about like 3 or 4 o'clock or something like that. And so I told him, you know, maybe it'll make me feel better if I go shower. And so he helped me, you know, like crutch it over to the new bathroom with the very, very, very small shower, and he, you know, brought everything down for me, being the nice guy he is. And I specifically asked him to stay there in the bathroom with me while I showered, just in case, like, I needed anything, I guess. I don't even remember why I asked him. I don't know. I don't even know. But I distinctly remember sitting in the bathroom, and I had saran wrap and the garbage bag and duct tape over my leg because we realized that the water was leaking, so we soon decided to saran wrap it. So I was sitting there, you know, with that in my leg, and I didn't even have, never mind being scared to put it down, I didn't even have enough room to put it down. So I had to keep it very, very, very far up. I had to keep my leg up, and that shower head wasn't able to pull down either, and I couldn't get away from the water. It was really, really bad. So I was sitting in the chair and, you know, just trying to wash my hair and everything. I had to keep my leg up. There was barely enough room to close the door, and I was trying to like stand up, but I couldn't. And I was just so frustrated that I just started crying silently. I didn't want Vince to hear me cry. I was just sitting there with my head down. It was, I think, the saddest I've ever been, and I was just so frustrated, and I was just pretty much hysterically crying silently with just the water pouring down. And I was taking a long time in the shower, and Vince, you know, was sitting in the bathroom. Obviously he couldn't see through the shower door or anything, so he just asked like if I was okay, you know, if everything was going okay. And I was like, yeah, you know when you're crying but you don't want someone to hear it in your voice, so you pretend like you're just like, yeah, like I'm okay. And I just sat there for several minutes just crying, and I was so angry too. I was so angry at my leg and just everything. It was by far the worst day, other than the day I broke it. It was the worst day of the whole thing. It was the most emotionally depressing. Oh my gosh. I don't even like thinking about it because I was in such a bad place when I was when I was going through that. Oh my gosh. About a week and a half later or so, I went to go get my real cast. And by real cast, I mean like a plaster cast that people can sign. I was really excited to get that. And we went to the hospital, and I forgot to tell you, I actually went to the hospital in between that because my cast had been falling apart. It was like a soft cast, and so they had put a, what's it called? Fiberglass cast on me. And so this was actually, I was going for my 4th cast now, and it wasn't even my air cast yet. It was supposed to be my plaster cast. So I get there, I knew that I had 1 more month left of not moving my foot before I could even get an air cast. And so the doctor comes in and he goes, okay, you have 2 choices. You can either get a plaster cast right now and you won't be able to move it and you'll still have to shower with a garbage bag on your leg, blah, 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 and then you'll get an air cast, or you can pay $140 and get an air cast right now and you can take it off to shower. And immediately I was like, air cast, give me the air cast. I don't care. If it cost me $300, I would have gotten the air cast because it is so depressing to have those showers and just have the garbage bag over your leg and everything like that. So I was like, give me the air cast. And I was so happy. I looked at Vince and I was like, what? You know, like, this is awesome. Totally not what I was expecting. It was just a very, very pleasant surprise. And so he cuts my cast off and I got to look at my ankle again for the 2nd time actually, because before, when he changed it to the fiberglass cast, I got to see all the staples, and I Instagrammed that picture actually. And all of you guys were just like freaking out because it looked so gross / so cool. I was like, look how badass I am. Anyway, so this was the 2nd time, and it had healed a bit since then because it had been about 2.5 weeks or so since I had gotten the fiberglass cast. He cuts off my cast and gives me this. This is my air cast. You guys saw it in one of my videos, I think. But what you do, and he showed me this, is you stick your foot in, ooh, close it up, then you stick this thing on top, and then you tie these things around it. After that, I had a completely different attitude about the situation. I actually went outside a lot more. I had barely gotten out. I think I had only gone out twice in the 1st month and a lot more in the 2nd month. Like, we actually went to the movies, which was totally obnoxious of me. Any outing, just even to the grocery store, I was sad if I didn't get to go, because anything to get me out of the house, get me out of a rhythm of depression, was very, very helpful. I even went to the driving range one night with Vince and tried to golf.
Didn't even know. You're scaring me. Yeah.
And then after that, on August 28th, I went to the hospital for the last time.
Good news is you're all cured. You're all healed. Okay.
What?
Yeah. It's been 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More like
okay.
7. Ow,
Yeah.
ow, ow.
Sorry.
No,
Don't be afraid to put full weight on that, okay?
okay.
Yeah.
What do the x-rays show?
It's all healed.
So obviously I'd be walking in the cast, right?
You can walk in a regular shoe now.
Really? How did that happen?
Well, you're only 21 years old, right?
Yeah.
It's healed.
It's just healed.
Yeah.
Okay.
News.
She's so shocked.
But I'm not gonna lie, I was really scared to start walking. For the first couple of days, I only kind of just like I was kind of too afraid. It was more like I was just hopping from foot to foot, you know, like it was just kind of like touchdown. Like I was really, really, really afraid. And it did hurt a lot. Like whenever I actually put weight on my foot, pain would massively shoot up my heel. It shoots up my heel. But that was the first day of recovery, of the rest of this whole process. And so on the first day of school, I went over to the therapy clinic at my school and booked appointments after appointments. So I had 3 times a week. I had a lot of physiotherapy to do. Very tedious and very frustrating and very repetitive, but were extremely helpful. After that, they gave me more home exercises to do and also reduced my session time from an hour to half an hour, as well as reducing it from 3 times a week to twice a week. Last but not least, this is the inside of my ankle as of this day in December 2012. Okay, that's the inside. And then this is the outside. I know it's hella nasty looking, but this is where my metal plate is. Some of my screws are on the other side. I have 2 big screws on the other side. I have 9 screws and a plate on this side. And the scar actually goes to up here, if you can tell. Goes from here to down here. It looks this bad basically because I picked at my scabs. I know that's really, really gross, but I did that. You guys want to see something that's cool though? You can actually see, the plate. If you stick your finger right here and then I point, I can feel the edge of my plate. And I'm not gonna lie, my foot really, really, really hurt yesterday. But I can tell you that I'm back on the dance team. I competed with them at a really big hip hop competition a couple of weeks ago. It's literally been 5 months, I think, since I broke it, and I'm almost back to normal. The only thing is that I can't sprint yet. Like, I can't run. I can dance, but I can't run yet. And don't worry, like, I'm being really careful, but there are some times where I just get up and start walking, and it's just like, oh, my ankle forgot that it can walk now. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, it just kind of gives out on me a little bit. So it's extremely frustrating, but I've progressed so much since I did this and in so little time that I'm very proud of myself for everything I've done so far. There's still quite a ways to go, but I'm definitely past the halfway point. Right now it's more about longevity. So I've been filming for 2.5 hours. Hopefully you guys are not watching a 2.5 hour long video, but I hope you guys really, really liked this. Please thumbs up for all of my effort and my pain. I guess I will see you guys later. I can't believe I just actually filmed this. I've been thinking about filming this for 5 months. All right, I love you guys a lot. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have any other questions, don't be afraid to ask me, because this is where I will answer all of them if I can. All right, I'll see you guys later. Love you. Bye.